Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rizky Ananda. I'm from GBA1 and my ID number is T2019 6024. Here I want to show you about my presentation about chapter 3 by the title is Equivalence and Equivalent Effect. The first is Jacobson and the issue of translability. There are three types of translation. The first is interlingual or rewarding interpretation of verbal sign by means or other sign of the same language. The second is interlingual or translation probe interpretation of verbal sign by means of some other language. For the third is intersemiotic or transmutation interpretation of verbal sign by means of nonverbal sign system linguistic meaning interlingual translation. Present two main issues: equivalence. The linguistic system specific returns Jacobson and the issue of translability. Jacobson followed the theory of language proposed by F. Saussure. Toward a science of translating, the problems of meaning, equivalence, and translability become central in translation study. In the 62nd, a new scientific approach was proposed by the American scholar Eugene Nida in his seminal works, Toward a Science of Translating, and his approach draws the theoretical concept and terminology from semantics, pragmatics, and from Chomsky's work on synthetic structure by Jacobson in Mundai. Chomsky's model, phrase structure, rules generate a deep structure which is transformed and relates one underlying structure to another to produce a final surface structure which is subject to phonological morphemic rules. The structural relations summarized here, according to Chomsky, are universal features of human language. The most basic of such structures are called kernel sentence. Okay. Then formal versus dynamic equivalence. According to Nida, a successful translation has to make sense, convey the spirit and manner of the original, have a natural form of expression. Produce a similar response, dynamic equivalence. I'm admitting all these requirements, but correspondence in meaning must have priority over correspondence in style. Nida's contribution was pivotal in leading the way away from the word-to-word equivalence toward a receptor-based approach to translation theory. Then Peter Newmark, Semantic versus Communicative Translation. Peter Newmark's approach to translation and a textbook of translation. Departing from Nida's model, Newmark claimed that the success of equivalence effect is illusory and that the gap between emphasis on source or target language will always remain them of reading problem in translation theory and practice. Peter Newmark, the semantic versus communicative translation, attempts to produce on its reader an effect as close as possible to the obtained on the reader of the original. Semantic translation attempts to render as closely as the semantic and synthetic structure of the second language allow the exact contextual meaning of the original. Okay, maybe just it for me. I do apologize to you all if I still have bad explanation. The last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.